Hello viewers, in this video I'm going to go over the different player builds for first baseman based on each extreme on the 3 different sliders. Also, we're going to assume that the first baseman is a right-hander, so the control and power stats will be slightly different depending on player's bat hand. The results in the following spreadsheet will of course be from the extremes, so leaving the sliders only slightly to the left or right will affect the starting stats. This tactic can be used to counteract the otherwise low stats in certain categories, so slide them as extreme as you feel appropriate. From this nice little spreadsheet, you can see the starting stats for first baseman when you keep the sliders in the middle, and what happens when you slide each slider all the way to the left or the right. I've highlighted stats green that are higher than the neutral starting stats and red if they are lower. First, I'm going to talk about how important I feel each stat is, and then I'll pick my personal favorite build. First basemen start out with really good vision, clutch, and durability. Vision is really important for any position player because it determines how wide your window for each swing is. With low vision, you can have perfect timing on your swing but still get an out or a swing and a miss because that window is so small that you don't get good contact. So keeping the vision at a decent starting level is really important and will save you a lot of frustration. Discipline really isn't all that important in my experience because it generally determines your batter's ability to check his swing, and I rarely try to check my swing. Now, if you expect your batter to be in the middle of the lineup, which first basemen usually are, then clutch will be important to get those RBIs. Durability is also important because it determines how many days you can play before you need a rest, and we want to make sure that stays high so that we can get as much playing time as possible. It also affects injuries, I believe, and we don't want that. The bunting stats and base running stats all start out very low, and that's because first basemen aren't going to be expected to bunt, and they're not going to steal bags either. So these stats are not necessarily important stats starting out, but definitely something to address later on. Arm strength and arm accuracy are really not that important for first baseman. If you want to give his secondary position the entire infield, it might be a problem starting out with these stats low, especially for third base. However, if you make his secondary position just second base, the low arm strength and accuracy shouldn't be a problem because of the throw distance. And I actually believe that you can get away with these low stats for the entire infield as a secondary position. It just might not be that pretty. And then we have reaction and fielding ability. These are definitely more important than arm strength and arm accuracy. Because he's not going to be throwing the ball very often, these stats are going to determine whether he's going to commit an error or play good defense behind his pitcher. First basemen start out with pretty bad speed. I think it's okay though to keep it at mediocre for the beginning part of his career. Generally, you want first baseman to drive in runs and hit home runs. If he has good power, he's easily going to get doubles just by hitting the ball into the gap. He's definitely not going to be hitting triples though. When you're moving up in the ranks and the outfielders have better arms, you're going to need to increase speed just so that you can make it to second in time, but I don't think it's that important to address this early on. And finally, the actual contact and power stats. I have personally found it much more difficult to get by with low power compared to low contact. First basemen start out with pretty even contact and power, however I feel power is definitely more important. Being able to hit home runs and drive in RBIs is more important in terms of training points than hitting bloop singles. And so, the build that I would pick is Strength, Power, Glove. Your power stats are beastin'. You start out with really good vision, clutch, and durability, and your reaction and fielding ability stats are good. Not great, but good. You start out with 0 in bunting and base running, but we already talked about how they aren't really all that important. And also, the arm strength and arm accuracy are passable. Discipline needs a little bit of work, but not all that important. Speed and contact are really quite abysmal, however these stats are actually so bad that it will take very little training points to get them to reasonable levels. They should definitely be addressed first though, and of course these are the extremes for each slider. If you want contact higher, just don't slide it all the way to power. If you want speed higher, don't slide it all the way to strength. However, doing so will affect the beast's power stats, so it's your choice. I personally would keep them at the extreme and put points into contact first and then speed, and I have found that this approach works quite well. In the end, you just want to make sure your build works best with your playing style. I hope you found this nice little spreadsheet helpful. I will be coming out with the rest of the position players soon, as well as starting and closing pitchers. As always, thank you for watching and have a good day.